Good afternoon. Welcome to AGE-u-cate Training Institute's virtual road trip. And we are going to give it a minute or two to get everyone seated, everyone into our webinar, and then we will get started with our program. So we are glad you're here, and let's give it just a minute or two to let some people get in here. We'll get started. Great, looks like everybody's coming in. So here we are at the halfway point. Hard to believe that we're already at the halfway point of the year. So I am Van Jeffrey, and I am the Vice President of Training Operations here at AGE-u-cate Training Institute, and I am delighted to be your host today for our virtual road trip. So we are thrilled that you are here, and who knew when we started this in January where we would find ourselves at the mid-year point, but here we are. So we have a lot to talk about today. So I'm glad you're here to join in with us. It's going to be a fun, interactive type of webinar, so get ready for a great time. I'm going to give it about one more minute to let some people join. We won't go any more longer than that before we get started. So once again, I am Van Jeffrey, the Vice President of Training Operations here at AGE-u-cate Training Institute. And I am delighted to introduce to you today our guest for our road trip. So many of you are familiar with Benjamin Sermi. I hear him talked about a lot in this industry, and always with glowing comments. So we are just thrilled that Benjamin can be with us today. Benjamin Sermi is a social gerontologist, and he is the Director of People and Culture in the Kelch communities. Empowering people to thrive, no matter what disability or cognitive disorder they live with, is the focus of Benjamin's work as a social gerontologist. Caregiver, activity director, lifelong learning center director, and home repair coordinator were each roles that shape his understanding of the unique needs of seniors. He guides the person-centered training for over 2,400 employees in 8 states and is currently implementing an evidence-based approach to care from France called Humanitude. He coaches 70+ wellness directors who support over 1,500 seniors. His passion is imagining the impossible and building alliances that make it possible. So, Benjamin, we are delighted to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Van. Very excited about the topic today because many of us have been going through a crazy 3 to 4 months, and it's been rather insane. And I think it's time just to take take a breather and look back and say, okay, what have we learned? What have people been doing that is inspiring to us? And so that's my purpose today, is really to inspire us in the midst of what we've been going through, and especially to look at the creativity on the very edges of this work. So let me start by, excuse me one moment, as I get this presentation up. This is my contact information. I'll put it up at the end. The slide deck will be sent at the end of this presentation with my contact information. So any resources that I talk about today, you're welcome to email me and I'll get you those resources. So quick look in history, right? It was not that long ago that all of our elders lived in poorhouses, right? We're talking about 1940s. Many of the elders in our country lived in poorhouses, almshouses. They lived next to the insane. They lived next to the drunk. They lived with everyone else that would be in a almshouse in America. It wasn't until the 60s and 70s that we started building nursing homes. And in the 60s and 70s, as you can see on the pictures, we were tying people to beds. We were tying people to chairs. It wasn't even until the 80s even licensors, surveyors for the nursing homes kind of required you to do that. Like, you get in trouble if you didn't lock someone up into a chair or a bed. I was born in 1980, so this was not that long ago, because I'm not that old, Matt. So it was not that long ago that in the 80s, we were tying people up to beds, right? So we've made a lot of progress in the past few years, including things like resident rights, making sure that no nursing home operator can say, no one can visit after these hours, or no, you can't have that visitor or that visitor. Like, these are really big things that we take for granted today, right? We have rights in long-term care across the United States. We have the freedom from being restrained, at least legally, not always followed, but at least legally, we are free from being restrained physically. There's a lot of progress we've made. But as all of a sudden, governors across the United States literally deleted those laws temporarily, which I'm not saying is a bad thing at all, and it was a very wise decision, but there's a lot of ramifications that could easily have happened from that, right? And so, just for our particular company, like, we started doing some pretty drastic things, right? Like, no visitors, people got to be 6 feet apart. We need to do 10 people or less in various events and activities. We need to, in some cases, actually tell people to stay in their room, right? We're telling people, you know what, you cannot even leave your room. You need to eat in your room, you need to hang out in your room based on the severity of the cases in the city. I mean, we're talking some pretty draconian measures that we've worked for 100 years to abolish, right? And all of a sudden, in 1 week, all these draconian measures come back. And so kind of a scary time for person-centered care, right? So my question to you as we start off, just use your imagination, and maybe even tell me some truth, because this may have happened. In the chat, go ahead and tell me what could have happened in this pandemic as all these rights were taken away. Like, what could we be witnessing right now if things hadn't gone as well as they have gone in many areas? In the chat, tell me, use your imagination. What could have happened? No rights. No visitors can come. Your family can't come. Your advocates can't come. Tell me in the chat what this might have looked like. Okay, a lot of acting out, increase in suicidal ideation. Elders could have just shut down. Failure to thrive, increased behaviors, more loneliness, increased loneliness, resident abuse, right? These are all things, suicide, negative behaviors, falls. Yes, would have been very horrible. Thank you, Denise. Absolutely, would have been very horrible. Yeah, a lot of things, depression could have happened, right? And they have happened. Like, a lot of the things you just mentioned did indeed happen. However, I think many of us have been very excited to see what did happen. So we're gonna take a little bit longer at the end to really tell concrete stories of what you've seen and what you're proud of, or what you've achieved. But I'd love to hear, just kind of top of mind, what did happen instead? What did we see in the United States? Activity directors, housekeepers, caregivers, elders themselves, families, what kind of things did we see actually happen? Window visits, creativity, thinking outside the box, families coming together to reach out across the world over video chats, stepping out of roles, more window visits, unity, music projects, going viral, superheroes, yes, unity, redefining the roles of staff so that we're doing more things together, not in our silos, car parades, everyone entertaining residents, knowing people more, consistent assignment of staff, oh, amen, more staff focused on quality of life, staff feeling like families, activities working closely with social services, multiple care partners working together to keep seniors engaged and healthy, more teamwork, food carts, going around halls with the food carts, or bringing food carts to the community, one-on-ones, increased one-on-ones with residents. Wow, Who would have thought, right, that a pandemic would open up that thing that we're often trying to establish in senior living, is getting more one-on-one happening. Technology adoption, amen, sister or brother, preach it. Matt, that was Matt. Amen, Matt, preach it. Technology adoption. Senior living is notorious for being very slow to adopt the new technology. Cards to patients by volunteers, and bonding with residents. And a negative, lawyers wanting to sue nursing homes. Yeah, absolutely, that happened too. So we saw some really amazing things happen. Now, there's been a lot of awful things, right? We've seen the death, we've seen the lawsuits, etc. And so I'm interested in this piece of what kind of creativity, kind of resilience did indeed happen during this time. So I want to take you quick case studies on some folks that I know personally, and some things that have happened just to give us some inspiration. There's so much more. You've all seen probably everything I'm going to show you. You've probably seen it on Facebook. You've probably seen it on YouTube or the news. But I just want to kind of round it up real quick and say, what are some of the things we saw? So I distill some of the things we saw into these five categories. Number one, we saw more story sharing. And one of the challenges in senior living for a very long time has been the great stuff that happens in senior living stays in senior living. There's some amazing people trying to change that, such as my friends over at One Day, my friends at Heart Legacy, Smile by CareTex. They're really trying to change that by creating technology that empowers story sharing. But what we saw during this pandemic was more people sharing the stories of the good things happening, right? We had communities at Kelsch, where I work, with 32 communities. Most of them had no communication with families other than a bill and a calendar that goes out, and then one-on-one communication, no formal communication of telling positive stories. Well, during this pandemic, almost every one of them has found a way to create some sort of creative expression of here's what's going on in our community and sharing that with the families. We're seeing news outlets cover stories with seniors doing amazing things, right? I saw an amazing news story of all these seniors out on their verandas at an assisted living singing, I think it was God Bless America, right? Great story that tells our world that our seniors are amazing people with so much to give and so much to offer, right? So story sharing, we started to see more of that happening. Elders serving and celebrating. Like we saw elders taking charge. We saw elders saying, we're gonna make masks for the employees where we live. We're gonna go celebrate the hospitals, the nursing homes. We're gonna celebrate the fire department and the police department and say, thank you for all you're doing right now to keep us safe, right? We're going to be taking a more active role in our community. And then number three, I saw teens adopting technology. People who never would stream even a YouTube video are now using technology to bring the world into nursing homes, into assisted living settings in a way that they weren't doing before because they didn't have to, and it was too much to learn, but now it was really important to learn. And so they're adopting technology to bring in video chat, which we should have been doing since video chat was created, right? But finally, we're seeing video chat happening. Like there's families who don't live in anywhere near their loved one who would have benefited from video chat. But this pandemic now made video chat possible for those communities that just didn't embrace that kind of technology. And then number four, innovation or trying new things, right? We've got people trying things they never even thought of, trying things that maybe no one's ever created, or at least it was new to them. And then five, integration with the wider community. What I'm seeing is you have kids coming by, participating in the lives of elders, even though it might be outside the window, even though it might be in the parking lot. Kids, we have, all kinds of, I know in my case, we have the Audubon Society got involved with us. We had, churches, we had Boeing's choir, we had all kinds of people who wouldn't otherwise frequent our doors are giving things to the elders, sharing something good with them, somehow integrating with the senior living communities in a unique way. So I'm going to take you first to Joni Kiator. Joni Kiator moved to the continental United States from Hawaii about 9 years ago, and she's worked in every role, right? She's worked in housekeeping. She's worked as a caregiver. She has worked in the kitchen. She's now an active living director in Scottsdale, Arizona. And she sent this message to us today.
Hi, my name is Joni from Scottsdale, Arizona. My team member and I created a poster of a fish tank to put in the residents' windows so they can have a vision of a fish tank and fishes and sea life.
Yeah, love it, right? I mean, something just, who would have thought, right? And this team member with their team in the midst of a pandemic, they actually had the coronavirus in their building, right? She's speaking right now from a building that is going through this incredible shutdown, right? Where they can't have anybody out of their rooms, where they're serving trays in the rooms, where nobody can do group activities, right? They're having to be very creative and think through, how can I bring some light into someone who's staying in their room all day? And one of their many solutions was to create fish tanks on the windows, right?
Hi, my name is Lisa Ann from Fresno, California. These 3 months have been quite interesting, but my residents and my team have worked so hard together and have made it work. A couple things that we have done is our window visits were kind of at first not very good because residents didn't understand the phone or the concept of the FaceTime or Skype or anything like that. A lovely thing that we donated is it's his phone and it connects to your phone and the residents can just talk super clear on it and it's loud. The residents can hear absolutely everything. It's super nice. The other thing that worked really well is card writing. We have been writing cards for families almost 3 times a week and the families have been so enjoyed with it and the residents have really a kick out of doing it. And those are a couple of things that we have done. Thank you.
So that was Lisa Ann Elliott, and she is from Fresno, California. She's one of our newer active living directors, but has been with us about 6 to 7 years working as a coordinator. And I'm just so impressed by the work they've been doing over there. But what she had to say, I think, again, highlights that elders serving, elders having some sort of initiative, right? The elders were writing cards to their families. It wasn't the other way around. The elders were the ones writing cards to their families every week. I love hearing that. Now, Evan Fairborn, he is customer service director over at Madison House Assisted Living in Kirkland, Washington. And I have been so impressed during this situation. His community was one of the first communities to go into shelter in place when the now infamous Life Care Center in Kirkland was the first hotbed of the coronavirus in the United States. And they were literally just a few blocks away. And they had some residents even who had been associated with Life Care and had been to Life Care, et cetera. And so they had to go through a pretty severe shutdown very quickly. And Evan really drove the kind of community building during that time. And I have been so impressed in watching the creativity that Evan and his team put forward to try to find a way in this assisted living with 150 apartments to keep people connected. So one of the things that I thought was amazing was the residents themselves put on masks, went outside, because across the street is a big hospital. And this hospital is right in the middle of the thickest part of the pandemic, right? They were in Kirkland, Washington. So they were experiencing this before any other hospital in the United States was experiencing it. They were one of the Seattle area hospitals that was getting this, right? Getting the first patients. So they went outside and they just covered the sidewalk with, it looks like a protest, but it's actually all these elders saying thank you to the nurses and doctors across the street. And I love this image because it reminds us that the elders in our communities are leaders, right? They're not recipients of charity. They are leaders. They have something to say. They have a voice. And we want to empower that voice. We want to do whatever it can to empower what they have to say, what they want to communicate to the world. So I loved how Evan and his team supported them in making that possible. Another thing you started to see at Madison House with Evan and his team was they would do things like create stations right? We can't do group activities. I think at this point they were able to at least walk out of their apartment, but residents could share something about their life, right? This is a veteran, he's sharing about his experience as a veteran. It's not a group activity, but it was something that he could share his life with his community, even as people are walking back and forth to the mailbox and things like that. The community got together and they each took squares and created a mural, a quilt mural that they hung in the entrance of the community. So as everybody walks in, we'd see that the community had come together and used creativity and art to come together and make the place their own, right? This is an example. Many of you have probably done this. We're seeing lots of these hallway and window kind of things. But here's a birthday party in the hallway, right, at Madison House with Evan and his crew.
Hello, my wonderful friends. I'm so happy to be here with you today. My name is Evan Fairborn. I am the Customer Services Director for Madison House Assisted Living in Kirkland, Washington. Benjamin asked me to share my brief story in terms of what it was like to work on the front lines in the middle of the COVID crisis. Specifically, what our story was here, kind of at the onset of the pandemic. I've thought a lot about it. There's been so many stories to choose from. Our team here has been absolutely phenomenal in coming together to respond to the crisis. The Kelch family has been phenomenal, and Kelch leadership in administrating our efforts and giving us the tools to respond to this crisis. And we get notes of gratitude every day from residents and family, thanking us for keeping them safe, giving us encouraging little notes to keep moving forward, which is wonderful, and really gets at the heart of, I think, what I would describe this whole experience as, which is kind of the refiner's fire that has taken our community and really honed in on what the heart of Madison House is, and more generally, just what the experience is for staff and residents working in an assisted living community or other sort of long-term care community or facility. That sense of being in it together, being a community that is comprised of employees and residents, individuals that live and work and love one another together. And that's really been the experience. We were fortunate to have made a couple decisions at the beginning of the pandemic as news broke of Life Care Center here in Kirkland. We did put our residents into a precautionary quarantine. I remember in those first few days, it seemed like we were calling families constantly, running through our list of contacts, giving them updates about what was going on as they were watching the news, trying to calm everybody's fears down, making sure we were communicating with the residents as best as possible, really focusing on that communication. I think we were delivering flyers like daily in terms of things to do, exercise channels to tune into, different, we partnered with various organizations in the area like the Eastside Audubon Society. They put together a list for us of common backyard birds for our area so we could play bird watching bingo. Through some networking, we were able to bring in some local food vendors who donated food for our staff to help them feel appreciated. So from a very early point in the pandemic, there was this really special feeling in the building of coming together, of community, of responding to the crisis. And I think that has really blessed us throughout the course of, to this day, trying to manage everything with COVID. I'm sure other communities have had similar experiences. The challenges that we faced, for sure, we have some nursing carts in the background. Like any sort of community, are those residents that either Isolation is very difficult on them. You know, we did launch a program for assisted living dining, even while we were in quarantine, so that those residents we were able to stop some weight loss issues, make sure they had the attention that they needed. That has been very successful. So not only focusing on the residents that are in danger from side effects of the isolation, but also focusing on residents who are our most active and vibrant residents. One resident I want to talk about today, her name is Beverly. She's one of our ambassadors. She's excellent in welcoming new residents to the community. She just is a real pillar, I would say, of our community. And we've really seen her change over the course of this crisis. She's used to interacting with people constantly, always being busy out and about in the community, and she hasn't been able to see her family, which is difficult to her. It's just been really difficult. And so some really special experiences have occurred when in our team meetings we've you know, discussed, okay, this is what's going on with Beverly, what can we do to solve it? We've done a lot of video calls with her family. We've reached out to her family, asked for special scrapbook pages or pictures that we can deliver to Beverly, help set her up with some FaceTime calls. We did a Zoom so she could participate with her grandson's graduation ceremony from the 8th grade, which you should have just seen the smile on her face. And just trying to keep that family connected. Her granddaughter gave birth to twin great-grandsons, and she hadn't been able to meet them because of the COVID crisis. So being able to facilitate Beverly being able to meet her grandchildren for the first time is just one of the most special experiences that I've ever experienced. But the sense of community, I think, that we felt here just is really a message, not just for COVID, but for life in general. I mean, focusing on the teamwork. You know, it's been so special to see everybody bring their ideas. You know, we have these kind of collaborative brainstorms where everyone just spits out ideas. There's no bad ideas. How about we do this? You know, how about we do a collaborative art project that became a collaborative mural piece, which I'll send Benjamin pictures of, that we displayed in the lobby. The message was, it's a new day, and it really lifted the residents' spirits and also gave them something that they could contribute to remotely. Another example, April, she is our marketing director. You know, last minute she got intel that Evergreen, some organizations or in the community were putting together a gratitude parade for our Evergreen Heroes, which is our local hospital. And this dropped into our pipeline about a half hour before the parade was ready to start. And she called all hands on deck, and the whole team came together. We made banners and printed posters and rounded up all the residents that we could, gave them signs, gave them paper hearts, and I'll send some pictures of that. And we had a really neat afternoon on one of the only sunny days we've had this spring. Luckily, fate was on our side, and we were able to lift the residents' spirits for that day. It's just, I mean, there's so many stories now that I'm in the middle of this video. It's hard to recall them all. Of course, I have a list of notes, but I haven't followed that at all. The message, I guess, I would share, at least from my team here at Madison House, is just of love, of gratitude, of community, of looking out for each other as this crisis goes on day after day. That's all that we can do. And thank you, Benjamin, for inviting me to participate today, and God bless.
Yeah, wow. That's from the front lines. I mean, that's from the front lines. That is right there from the front lines. I loved the example of the families kind of caring for Beverly by taking care of the whole family. And I think that's a great example of family-centered care, which is something that, you know, senior living hasn't always been great at, right? We've started to get better at person-centered care, but family-centered care is a whole other layer. Like, how do you realize that you're not just taking care of grandma, you're taking care of grandma and her daughter and the grandchildren, right? That's what we're taking care of. We're taking care of the whole family unit. His message, I think, is powerful to us, because it is easy, especially if we're you know, someone in leadership of some sort. It's easy just to get focused on systems, policies, technology. It's easy to get focused on a lot of those things, when I think what we hear Evan saying is the ingredient, the most important ingredient to what they experienced was community. It was kind of that something that's not as easy to quantify, but the relational connection between team members and between the residents and their families, which there are some people who are working to quantify that a little bit better. You know, some folks out of Toronto are really looking at something they call relationship-centered care, and they're trying to study that particular phenomenon. Okay. A couple of other examples from Evan and his team are, they did a game because, you know, they started to see, oh my gosh, all these residents can't see us because we're wearing masks. So they created an entire game in which the residents would try to guess whose face was behind the mask, right? I love that. They started putting together these very colorful emails that would go out to families every week. And I want to pay attention. This is one of the first ones that came out. They've since added a lot more pictures, and they're kind of sharing what happened last week, things like that. But a couple of things that you'll notice. One, they did family FaceTime, and you could literally click the link and it would take you to a Calendly website where the spots that were free, you could just click on and make an appointment for video chat, because not every elder had their own iPad and knew how to do it, right? So our staff had to help some folks. So families could just click a link. There was no cumbersome calling back and forth and trying to work out a time. It was synced with their calendar automatically, right? And so families could just go in, put it in, it would put it in their calendar, etc. They did notes of love. So they invited families to send letters in, and they would literally paste up the letters and photographs all over the doors of the residents. And they also did singing telegrams where families could call in and say, hey, could you send my mom this message? They would send someone to the door to sing that message to that resident. I think another example I like from this is we talked about the Audubon Society and the bingo that they were doing in their rooms, right? One of the things that was really interesting to see was, as people were kind of shut in their rooms, they worked to create a way to engage communally while people were shut in their rooms. So a couple examples on this page that you're looking at are the bingo, right? Well, if you do the bingo, you can participate in kind of community-wide contests. The magazines, 100 free magazines were donated to them. Someone went through each magazine and found like 10 things and created a scavenger hunt for each magazine. So as they're delivering these magazines, residents could go find everything in the magazine versus here's a magazine, go read it. It was something engaging, something that there was more skin in the game, so to speak, right? Something they're doing right now is a crazy clue. Now again, people are kind of hanging out in their rooms a lot. This is a game that can be played kind of over several days as people are within the community. And there's all these cards and they're trying to guess who did it. And if you're interested, email me later and I'll get you more instructions. Poetry contest was run and facilitated gathering poetry from the elders who lived there. And they celebrated that poetry publicly and made sure everybody knew what poems had been submitted so everybody could read them, right? So giving people an opportunity, again, to engage in community. They use something that they just started called Crazy Cash. And a lot of assisted living does some sort of cash. But what I thought was interesting about what they did here was they would deliver packets once a week with all kinds of activities like the Audubon Society bingo and things like that, right? And based on what you accomplished, you could call in answers and get points for your answers, right? So you're calling in, you're sharing what you're doing with some other person, and you're getting credit for what you're doing there in your apartment, right? And then they combine that with poker, a huge poker game where you'd get basically these cards and based on your participation, and then you could use those cards to go ahead and play poker, and there would be a certain number of crazy cash that you would be able to get if you won that particular hand for that particular week. So they had multiple layers to helping the residents feel connected. I'm not just doing crosswords in my room. I am doing something that is lifting my eyes outside of my room to birds, outside of my room to poetry, and I'm engaging with my whole community. So I really loved the way they were able to kind of explore kind of multiple ways to engage people while staying in their rooms. Now, I want to share some comments by Matt Rynders. He's the co-founder and vice president of EverSound. Woo woo! They're one of our partners. We absolutely love working with them. Not only do they provide us with the headsets that we use for visitation stations and for connecting with families and for using live events, streaming live events and being able to hear our staff through these headphones, but they've really been a partner in navigating all kinds of things related to active living programming, from creating programs for us to creating new ways of using the tools, to creating guidance for our team and like how to lead a basic activity. They're doing some really cool stuff. So I wanted Matt to share, because he's got a kind of bird's eye view across the nation of some cool things going on. And so I've shared some things that went on, like people I know in the company I'm in, but he's gonna share some things that have happened in a variety of companies all around the United States.
Hi everyone, my name is Matt Rynders. I'm one of the co-founders of EverSound, and wanted to thank Benjamin for the opportunity to kind of showcase some of the resiliency of some of our partner communities, AGE-u-cate included. For those of you that aren't familiar with EverSound, so we spark meaningful connections. What we're probably most known for is our flagship group listening product that allows everybody to hear at a level comfortable to them during group programming and activities. As the world was changing, we started to see communities get super creative in their use cases. I think this executive director sums it up best, where they said EverSound's been an amazing support tool during the challenging time. They've used it for hallway exercise, hallway bingo, hallway trivia, and family visits. If in case you're not familiar with EverSound, the way that it works, you can plug in really any audio source into the transmitter, which I'm holding up right here. On one end, plug in anything with an audio out, TV, computer, laptop, smartphone, iPod. On the back, you can plug a microphone directly into it. And it's been amazing to see communities are really been adopting this to do group programming in the new age. And a lot of these ideas you're going to see are coming directly from the communities. I wish we could take credit for it. The nice thing with EverSound, with the range being 300 feet in all directions, it really can allow people to be physically distant but socially connected. And just to kind of showcase a few examples here, so Carlton Senior Living, is using it to make video calls, stream music, host SingFit, while keeping residents seated at an appropriate distance away. And they've also been using it to provide the soundtrack to frequent hand washing sessions, which are super important now. One thing EverSound is helping with, and which I know we can never take it away, is with bingo. We've seen more and more communities doing like in-room bingo or hallway bingo, showcase this on the left, doing it from their hallway. They're wearing the headphones, so they're amplifying what they should be listening to. On the right, a great example of a community using EverSound for in-room bingo, where if someone won, they would hit their nurse call light button. Super creative, super resilient. It's just amazing to see. Other groups on the left here, they used EverSound during a physically distant Easter service. And on the right, Otavio was having his 99th birthday, and the program director there got the whole community send in mail, and they're able to read it to him through the EverSound system. We've got other communities using it on the left here, where Mary Lynn, who's the resident nurse, was educating residents on the effects of diabetes and using EverSound, again, keeping physically distant but socially connected. And then on the right here, our friends at Sun City West using it during a game of cornhole. And I think one of the most resilient things we saw come out of this, and I wish we could take credit for this idea, but we started seeing communities repurposing our group listening system, to really help showcase this visitation with families that are either through plexiglass or through a window. And it's been really amazing to see of how this kind of came together. And I wish we could take credit, but we definitely just saw community start doing this and thought we could really try and help make these connections again. The way that it works, basically a transmitter on the inside is paired to headphones on the outside and vice versa to really allow for this two-way communication. And, some of these examples just really speak for themselves in terms of, Thorncrest on the left, really using it for a mother's birthday or for Mother's Day. Continuing on the left, Heritage of Sandy Plains, using it for Mother's Day. On the right, Spring Valley, using it for another visit. Again, the community is using it for Romeo and Juliet to do physical distancing from the parking lot to keep that conversation going. And then Miss Josie, which has become my favorite story, who recently turned 100, her family was able to use Eversound to sing happy birthday to her. And it's just these little moments of reconnection, these moments of resiliency where the communities are heroes amongst themselves, and just what they're doing day in and day out is inspirational. So back to you, Benjamin. I appreciate the time, but yeah, if you want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help in the other way. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you, Matt. I know you're on the call today, so thank you for sharing amazing stories. Amazing stories. I love it. Love the creativity around our country right now from people. Again, many of them did not have some leader telling them what to do. They created it themselves. Love that. One of the communities in Longview, Washington, what they did is, and they weren't pixelated. I don't know why it's pixelated on my screen here, but they realized, okay, the residents can't see who we are. So we're going to create face name tags so that our residents can see our whole face when we come into their room. And they created a special VIP staff appreciation card that they would randomly hand out and make sure the staff got whatever they selected on the VIP card. Residents in also Longview, Washington, they decided to put together notes for the local EMT and hospitals. And so lots of them wrote notes and had their pictures taken, and it was delivered to the hospitals, to the EMTs, to the fire department, right? Thanking them for their work. I thought this was also a really unique opportunity. So out of Arizona, we had a gentleman who had been a photographer throughout his life. He led a walk around their campus, and their campus is not that big, right? But they're used to going out, doing things. All of a sudden they're stuck. So he says, well, we're gonna enjoy what's actually here. So he led a walk around the community and wrote about that walk. And you see how they really started to notice what was right there on their property. And again, it's not that big of a property. When we go all the time, sometimes we don't notice what we have. What I've seen is more and more people noticing what they have. And honestly, that's probably a trait of elders, right? Elders are in many ways more mature than people who are 30 or 40 and 50, right? They know that noticing what you have is one of the keys to successful life. And so what I've noticed is that there's a lot of elders doing that. And he's an example of one of those elders who really took the time to notice what was already there. Another group did the same kind of thing, but turned into a scavenger hunt. So they went around their community and they took pictures. These are elders doing this. They took pictures of cool things on the property. And then one of our staff members turned it into a scavenger hunt so that they could go, it was their idea to do this. They just did the graphic design for it. So that residents could then go and find all those things, write down where they found it and get prizes. A lot of people are trying to do things with when you can't share supplies. How do you do various games, right? So a paper airplane, you don't need to share the paper airplane. Great idea. Love that. That was, I don't remember which community that was from. I think that's also from Longview, Washington. I don't have a picture of this one, so I put this generic picture up. A community decided we can't do beanbag baseball because there's too much sharing of germs on the beanbags. So we're going to shift to toilet brush hockey. We're going to buy everybody their own toilet brush that they will keep with their name on it, and we will play hockey with the toilet brushes. And it was very popular. Again, this is not from one of our communities, this is from another community around the country, but showing this idea of how do we use the hallways, How do we use the hallways to do things? We see hallways being used for bingo, hallways being used for church services, hallways being used for concerts, for movies, and for games like this, again, without having to share supplies. Also not from one of our communities, I can't remember where this is from, but this happened recently. I think Visiting Angels partnered with a nonprofit to create a way to get people out and go on bike rides in a safe way, which I just love that ingenuity. And then I can send you this link. Again, if you email me afterwards, I will send you with 2 links here. One of the things, we have a amazing master's level art therapist who's a special needs educator. She's on our team and she is a kind of like the tool person. So everybody involved in engagement can come to her and like, give me ideas. And so she has been on high alert these past 3 months, finding everything that you could possibly do when you're shut in, right? And so she created 2 pages that I can send you that have just tons in this particular page, it's all kinds of online tours, online music, online experiences and travel. And then the next one that she did is all kinds of apps, sensory apps that are good for dementia, as well as all kinds of other interactive audio books and meditation and various things. Many of you may already have these, but if you're looking for more resources, let me know. I'll send you her link so you can check out what she's been curating for our team. And then you've probably all seen the Getty's challenge to the world to use this time, shelter in place, to appreciate art and create your own version of famous art pieces. So a community down in Chandler, Arizona took them up on the challenge. And I just love these pictures. I just absolutely think what they did was so fun. So as you're looking, we're gonna vote in a second. I'm gonna put them back up and you're gonna vote. So be looking, I'm gonna go back. So you're gonna tell me what your favorite is. There's 16, so watch carefully. Mm-hmm. Oh, I just love this. Look at her face. Look, I mean, really. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Do you love the fork? I mean, you love the fork, right? The fork is the icing on the cake on this one. Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of resemblance there. It's amazing to me they found the background in the community, right? I mean, they found like the perfect background. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Trying for the Mona Lisa. That's a tall order. Woo! The active living director typecast everybody. Oh my gosh, the toilet paper. We will never ever live this down, will we? Mm-hmm. Not quite a mimic. Mimic would have been R-rated, but oh, and then look at that face. Look at that face. So in the chat, vote, put the number in. Which number was your favorite out of these 2 pages? Which number was your favorite? Go ahead, put that in the chat. Tell me who you vote for. I would have done a poll, but they don't give you enough options with the poll. Let's see if we can. Oh, we got a lot of 13s, a lot of 4s. What's 13? 13 is, oh, okay, yep. And then a lot of 4s. Let's see here, what's 4? Ah, yes. Oh, I did love 4. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of 4s, quite a few, oh, a ton of 4s. Yeah, okay. I think 4 is the winner. I think 4 is definitely the winner. Yep. Okay. Love it, love it. So again, example of elders really like stepping up and just doing fun things, getting outside the box. So in the chat, I don't know if this webinar has enabled the raise hand feature. If it does, go ahead and raise your hand. I can call on you. You can tell your story, but please, what are your stories, right? You've heard some stories that I've witnessed, but what are some of your stories on this call today? What have you seen that has inspired you? What have you been proud of? I want to hear what you're proud of during this crazy past 3 to 4 months. What's on What have you seen that has inspired you? We have a senior prom for our seniors, says Amy Kuiper-Shaw, with our 2020 seniors and videotaped it for them to watch later. Heather Jane says the heart hunt, all of the hearts that people put on their homes, buildings, chalk walks, definitely brought happiness to everyone. Yes, yes, and the bears everywhere in my city. I know there's bears everywhere. What else has inspired you? Families having more appreciation for the hard work of the staff taking care of their loved ones. Thank you, Julie. Amanda says we had a telehealth visit with a resident or doctor, and both daughters went to New York and they all got their questions answered. Jennifer says we're doing a virtual blood drive. Well, that's interesting. How do you do a virtual, do people kind of like take the needle themselves and like mail it in? How does that work? We did, Brooke says we did a share your wisdom with our residents. It was wonderful. Danielle says my social services team has been flexible and adaptive to many and frequent changes. Awesome, Danielle. Matt says, I think just seeing how the senior living industry has responded to this whole thing has inspired me. The media likes to cover more of the negative things, but I've been inspired by the heroes on the front line, continuing to improve the quality of life for older adults. Jessica Daly says, company-wide spirit weeks. Yes. Cheryl says, ribbons around trees by neighboring families, thanking communities and hospitals for saving lives and responding to the crisis. Yes, we have seen real community come together during this time. Samantha says, Alzheimer's Special Care Center here. Not only have we worked really hard on virtual calls, over 500 to date, virtual demos to raise money for the Walk to End Alzheimer's, special parties, Cinco de Mayo, Mother's Day, etc., that really brought spirits up for the residents. Lots of food, drink, and dancing. Amanda says we have had snack boxes from Amazon for our staff from families ordering on Amazon to send to the staff. Gail Snyder says, love that virtual and telehealth has been made available. I do need to give a shout out to Gail Snyder. If you, and if you don't know her, definitely email me and I'll get your contact info. They're doing 5 days a week programming specifically for people with dementia that can be accessed from anywhere in the world. Awesome, like exercise programs, art programs, all half-hour long, devoted to people living with dementia. And Sherry Bianco says, we have done spa days for the residents to pamper them all. The managers coming together to pull this off at Royal Oak. Love that, Sherry. Yes, spa days to wash and style hair, all done by staff volunteers. Yeah, that's something we didn't talk about. All the salons got shut down, right? And how do our residents get their hair done that they get done weekly? Well, staff members jumped in and tried to figure it out. Gail Snyder says marketers have been very creative and have shown much care and concern for residents and healthcare staff. Yes. Now, before I let you go, I just want to cover one more quick topic, and this is a very brief preview. I am going to be doing a more in-depth presentation, I think it's next month, on the details of this, but video chat, right? It's something we're all doing. It's something that's important, but we could do it better, and we should be aware of the technology that's out there, because some of the technology we're using is not necessarily senior friendly. And there's certain aspects of the technology that we're using today that kind of creates dependency, where the elders need us versus us being able to empower them so they don't need us to do video chat with the people that they love. So we're seeing people use Skype, FaceTime, WhatsApp, often using an iPad, an iPhone, an Android device, using Amazon Alexa, perhaps, their screen version, or the Facebook portal, typically because these are pretty cheap, pretty easy to set up, but I think it's worth, as gerontologists, that we be aware of what's created specifically for seniors and for people with various disabilities. And I'll get more in depth in this in my workshop where I just cover this, but in 3 minutes or less, I'm going to cover about 5 of the technologies that are worth knowing about. The first one is GrandPad. This is probably the most well-known one. One reason is because I know Home Instead partnered with them, and a lot of Home Instead franchises now offer this as part of their package when you have home care come into your home. But the GrandPad was designed specifically for seniors to be able to access the internet, some games, and do video chat with families, as well as speak into email and the email would be sent to family members. It's definitely for your early or your active older adult who may not be super familiar with technology, not good necessarily for people with dementia, especially middle stages and beyond. It is cell enabled so that you do not need great Wi-Fi. I think it's on the T-Mobile network, I believe. You can pick it up at Target. So it's becoming very easy to get this. I think, if I remember correctly, it's around 30 bucks a month, something like that. And it's about 200 bucks to get the device. Soshi Avi is a fairly lightweight, little larger screen that can sit next to the bedside, next to the table, and it is it's got an app associated with it, so the family has access. Only the family has access to this tablet, right? The family can call in, the elder can call them. They just they point to the picture of the family member they want to talk to. The families can send pictures to the device, and the device scrolls through pictures all day long unless they want to make a call. And I think it's like one click and the call happens. Connect, this is a little more kind of larger device. What the designers of this device realize is a lot of the tablet focused solutions for seniors, especially those with dementia, they lose battery power because people are forgetting to plug them in at night. And so this is a plug-in device. It's heavier, so it keeps you from putting it in a dresser drawer and forgetting that you ever had it to begin with. And they have it capable of multiple languages, capable of pictures or names. They are working on closed captioning, so you can talk and it writes down what you are saying on the screen. And they have a lot of different adaptations for if you're in a bed and you need a pole, it will fit on a pole. It's got all kinds of adaptations for various types of ability levels. And then we have View-Clicks. This is out of Portland, Oregon. They're also working on kind of trying to create something that's very senior friendly that allows you to send pictures, send video, and then also have face-to-face video chat. And this was pretty exciting. This is out of the UK, and this is called Cradle. And Cradle is the only one I found besides Facebook Portal that works with TV. Like everything else doesn't work with the TV, right? This works with the TV. Little thing over the top of the TV can be used either for a group setting or it can be used individually with individuals. And it has if an elder has to work it, it has a remote that has 4 buttons on it. Literally you scroll, do I want to see pictures? Do I want to see videos from my family? Do I want to have a call? Or do I want to join a live event? Like you've got these choices and you just click, 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 bam, right? You're in. And it also integrates with, I think, 10 different sensors. So if you are doing this at home and you want to kind of monitor a senior's well-being, it will also integrate with those sensors. So some fun stuff being developed in the video chat world. I'll go into them more in depth in that workshop. But I think it's worth knowing that these are there because these are the kind of things that can actually empower a senior to not need a staff member to help them make a call. Quick tips. We'll go into the more in-depth in the workshop, but these are things to consider doing during a video chat session because a lot of families struggle with what do I say, what do I do? Well, these are things you can do in a video chat session to make the video chat a lot more engaging. So this is my contact information. I believe Michelle will be sending the slide deck to you all afterwards. It will have my contact info in it. Anything you want from the slide deck, we're like, give me that resource, give me the link, whatever, just email me and I'll make sure you get it. Van, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome.
I'm here. Well, that was wonderful, Benjamin. Thank you so much. Talk about a whole hour of wonderful news. And I'm just amazed by the innovation and creativity of all of these staff. And we know that these are just a tip of the iceberg of the wonderful stories that are out there. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for helping us remember that we are empowered to care for our elders and that creativity is wonderful. I've written down toilet brush hockey. I'm thinking that might have other applications, maybe in our office when we all get back together. And You gave a shout out to Gail Snyder. I will second that. She put her contact information in the chat box, but that's with Dementia Friendly Fort Worth. And one of her activities I actually participate in. So on Monday mornings, you can come do Ageless Grace with me. Those are activities for people living at home with dementia. Anybody can access them. We would love to have you join us. You can contact me, you can contact Benjamin, you can find Gail's information in the chat box, and we'd love to see you there. So let's talk about next month, shall we? And I have a friend who's going to help me talk about that, but because next month we are going taking our virtual road trip to the Northeast United States. We're going to meet Jim Murphy, Senior Vice President of Healthcare for Ageless Innovation, and Juliet Holt-Klinger, the Senior Director of Dementia Care for Brookdale Senior Living. They will share findings from several studies with robotic companion pets and share actionable insights for organizations that serve those living with Alzheimer's and related dementias. We hope you will join us. That will be on Thursday, July 16th, again at 1 p.m. Central Time. And we look forward to seeing you there. So thanks, Priscilla, for helping me. And thank you for being here today. We look forward to seeing you again next month. Thank you again, Benjamin. Everyone, be looking in your emails. You'll be getting a link to this recording as well as the resources that Benjamin is sharing with us. So until next time, be safe, be well, and peace to all of you.